Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30. I am going to call this meeting to order. Is Councilmember Lawson on here?
Yes, let's see. I saw her.
Okay. Okay, do either of you have any changes? I don't think we have her.
I actually don't see her. She was on here.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll give her a minute and see if she comes back.
Dustin, can you hear us?
It shows her in participant.
She is on the list, but I'm not hearing her.
Okay, I'll just give her a minute and see if we can figure that out. Okay. Well, I don't know. Councilmember Zvonek, do you have any changes to the minutes?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Okay. Well, I hope Councilmember Lawson can hear us. We're going to go into general business. So item 3A, introduction of new management assistant, Crystal V. Hill.
So Janine Restad, your Director of Planning and Development Services. I am very pleased to introduce Crystal. I think we hired her less than a month ago, but she has 2 years experience in Aurora at Access Aurora. And I have to say, one thing that really struck out during our interviews was she said Aurora is home. This is where she wants to build her career. She's got a lot of energy. She's going to be serving this committee. I'll let her say hi really quickly.
Hello, I'm Crystal V. Hill. Like Janine said, I've been here in Aurora for almost 2 years now. Next month will be 2 years, and this is definitely home. I really enjoyed my time here so far. And I really, really, really enjoy planning so far. It has been less than a month, but it's been fun.
So anyone trying to schedule with me, she's probably going to be your best bet.
Great. Well, welcome. We look forward to working with you and seeing you, on this committee and seeing you around the city.
Thank you.
Was that it, Janine, for you guys?
That's it.
All right. Item 3B, retail redevelopment policy update.
And if I can do the introduction for this, I'm sponsoring it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hi. So retail has been dear to my near and dear to my heart for the entire 7 years I've been on council. I actually, during a couple different budget workshops, added a few FTEs to the retail area. But one of the things that was lacking was that we had an incentive program for retail, but it really focused on improving properties. And we have a lot of our major mall shopping centers, and not just shopping centers, as staff will go into details on this, but that are needing to close a gap on some bringing in some really good tenants into our city. And as most of our revenues come from retail taxes, it's really important that we make sure that we have a focus on retail. So I approached Andrea and Bob about basically a gap in the incentive program, and seeing if we can add something to update our retail policy guideline. So I will now turn it over to, I guess, to Andrea.
Great. Thank you very much, Council Member. As Mayor Pro Tem Bergen said, this policy, these guidelines for policy are not new. They're about 10 years old, but they haven't been looked at in that long. And when Mayor Pro Tem approached us, about improving our ability to provide assistance to retail centers to improve our economic development. This policy did not focus on the types of things that we were hearing at ICSC and other meetings that we have with brokers, retailers, and property owners about re-tenanting their vacant sites. As the council member indicated, this policy had been focused at the time on physical property improvements. So while the original guidelines didn't prohibit this kind of incentive, we thought some more emphasis on that to make intent clear would be advised. So as the backup indicates, I put in both a red line copy to show where the changes are and the clean copy so that you could read all the changes, but I'll just briefly focus on what's been changed. As I said, we talked about increasing the emphasis on re-tenanting and reconfiguring or rehabilitating spaces or property to accommodate new desirable tenants. All incentives are reviewed individually by council. That these policy guidelines are intended just to give some background to council for how we generally provide them. And again, it's based on economic development to the city because sales tax makes up well over half, close to 2/3 of the general fund budget. So what we've done is we've said that up to 30% of project costs, and project costs can be anything that's involved with the re-tenanting of the property, that is a change. But the portion of new taxes available is generally capped at 50% of that sales tax, meaning that the city will still receive the benefit of any new economic development that occurs as a result of these incentives. And those incentives will be capped at the general length of the incentive at the lesser of 10 years or the life of the new tenant lease. So if there's a shorter lease, we would try to make sure that we're only incentivizing for the length of the lease. And then the other change is just putting front and center that new revenue generation here is our goal. So those are a summary of the changes. I will be happy to answer any questions, but generally the question is, can staff forward this to the next study session, which is August 15th, and should the council committee decide that that's the direction, we are prepared to bring this to full council at study session. And because this is not a legislative change, this is just, we're looking for support from council generally to adopt these policy guidelines. They're not, it's not a vote, it's not an ordinance, it is just guidance for the council.
Sure. I don't have any questions and I support this. Council members Zvonek and Lawson, where do you stand?
I'm fine with it moving forward. I think it's a great idea. Thanks for bringing it forward, Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't know if we've lost Angela again, but two of us want to move it forward. So we'll go ahead and move that forward. Thank you so much for the presentation and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
We will move on to item 3C, Aerotropolis District Northeast Aurora Development Update.
Okay, we're ready to take a tour of Aerotropolis. I'm Mindy Parnes. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager, and we consolidated all the development proposals in this area, and we'll share that with you right now. Oops. Okay, I guess you see our first slide here with this, which is a huge map, right? Yeah, okay. So as I said, welcome to Aerotropolis. Today we're going to take a tour of the unprecedented growth in Northeast Aurora. Former council member Gruber had initiated an effort to brand the area and to rename the primary entry to the area as Aerotropolis Parkway. To realize all this growth, it took a very coordinated effort by your entire interdepartmental development review team, and many of which are on the call today to answer any questions. Okay, so we are going to start with Aerotropolis Parkway interchange at I-70. This was called Harvest Interchange, and this has been a very coordinated effort with Public Works, Planning, and ARDA to realize the interchange that is now called Aerotropolis Parkway. So this used to be the alignment of Harvest. It is now going to swing over to Powhatan, but the name of the road continued to be Aerotropolis Parkway. The other connection that we've been working on is Aerotropolis Parkway's connection to DIA. Again, this was another huge effort with the property owners, the developers in the area, and Public Works and Planning have been working on refining this, and we're still refining how it's going to definitely connect to Den or to the airport. Okay, this parkway, as we said, will line along Powhatan and then swing back up to Jackson Gap right there. Okay. So this, we're going to start to the north of the area. We couldn't fit all the developments on a single map. Real quickly, this is Gaylord over here for some context. High Point traverses here. This is Painted Prairie. We have Skydance, which is a newer development. We have Full and Wider. High Point goes all around. Full and Wider has ongoing development. And this is Porteos. And we're going to start with all the residential. So this is a summary sheet of as much as we can provide on this one slide, but it extends a lot further than that. So we have a total at growth of 37,000 units, with yielding a population of about 98,000 people in the future. We have millions of square feet of commercial proposed, and we have over 13,820 acres of industrial proposed in the area. So it's huge. We'll start by just summarizing some of the proposals. High Point was one of the first pioneers to come about here. They were here before most of the development occurred. And they have about 299 residential, 126 mixed use acres, I'm talking, and 126 acres of mixed use and commercial, and then 365 acres of industrial proposed. This is Painted Prairie. Again, this is 644 acres, 4,200 planned units. Their town center is getting ready to go underway, and they have about 400 homes already constructed. And here, they started initially with their park. They built their park first, which was a great way to attract the new builders here to the area. Here's Aurora Highlands. We have about 2,500 acres and 12,000 planned units there. About 360 of those units are under consideration and construction, and they're proposing a medical campus and commercial along a main street closer to E470.
Mindy, I'm gonna jump in just real quick.
Sure.
There was a message in the chat that some people cannot see the presentation. Staff, is there any way that we can see why some people can't see the presentation?
Are they? I'm not positive. Councilmember Jurinsky, I'm not positive why they would have an issue. Can I ask, like, who's having an issue?
It was Becky Hogan, and she's gonna log in and log.
I can't either. I'm following it through my backup, but I didn't know that it was supposed to be on the screen. So I've been looking at it on my other computer. So I think it's supposed to be on the screen. I just see you talking.
Wow.
Sorry about that. I just see it on the screen, obviously, but and some can and some cannot. So I'm wondering if it's something to do with connection, or if it's the way that the person came into the meeting. As if it was as an attendee, it might be a little different. If you come in as a panelist, which is the invite that we send out, you have to accept that invite and then utilize that link. I'm not positive. I apologize.
Well,
the only thing I'll add is if folks are having problems, they could also, the meeting is being simulcast on the city's YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com / the Aurora channel, there's a link there, and I just pulled it up and you can see the presentation. So if you'd like to, you can follow along that way.
okay. Councilmember Zvonek, are you okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I didn't know anything was happening, so I'm fine. I'm looking at the other screen, so I'm good.
Okay, well then we'll continue on. Go ahead, Mindy. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if any other problems arise there. So here we are again back at Aurora Highlands. And again, they're working on a main street mostly parallel to E470. And here's a sample of the homes that are being constructed. Green Valley Ranch. So again, this is another residential development. It's adjacent to the Green Valley in Denver, but here it is. It's about 588 acres, another 2,600 planned units, and 350 of which are under construction. They have a senior housing component to their development. A newer one that is more in the planning stage is our Windler, and this shows it in context, and the yellow box here outlines the area. They have about 840 acres, another 5,000 planned residential units with 223 acres of industrial, commercial, and mixed use. And they're refining their master plan and also submitting applications at the same time early. So full and wider, Denali is actually there, which is a industrial development. Again, people are on the call that can answer questions at the end if you want to go back. This is 726 acres. There is a component where they would have multifamily, about 1,200 units planned, but it's mostly industrial and mixed use. Again, we have our Catalyst project, which was Gaylord Rockies. They're working on a second phase that would be about a 20% increase and another wing to them. They also own the land surrounding them called Rockies Village, and that is not active yet, but they would plan residential and commercial to support the development. Porteos was another pioneer out here for our industrial development. They were the first ones, and they were the ones that negotiated the access to DIA, which took years and years and years to get to. So about 750 acres. They have a lot of development ongoing there, and they're large scale industrial uses there. And we have JAG Logistics within Porteos, which is a great new partner in the city, and their connection with aviation support. So now we move further south. This would be below 38th and around the I-70. area. Majestic Commerce Center, there's 1,600 acres, 11 million square feet of industrial planned, and about over 6 million is actually constructed. And there are major projects still ongoing. Aurora Commerce Center is industrial. They have buildings ranging from 130 to 600,000, and several buildings are under construction. Stafford Logistics, they also have buildings ranging from like 130,000 to 600, and several buildings are they're under construction or completed in the development review process. Prologis, 571 acres, again, large scale industrial buildings, and there's quite a bit under review. And just south of I-70 to the west, southwest, is what we call Horizon Town Center and the Horizon Development. Again, another 7,700 planned units, and they're proposing a considerable amount of mixed use and commercial development, over 3 million. So we're just here to answer questions. This is informational. I can go back to any particular development. And you also have people from Public Works, Office of Development Assistance, and our development review team to answer any questions about any specific developments. There are even more in the pipeline that are not yet ready to be shown, but there's quite a few. So just want to know if y'all have any questions.
Councilmember Zvonek, do you have anything?
No questions.
I have a gotcha question for Jason Batchelor. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Wherever you are. So where in all of this will the District 4 police station be going?
So we're actually looking at that now as part of the capital improvement master plan. We're looking at that. So we're looking at different locations actually for all of our facilities. So for police, for fire, parks, libraries. So that's part of our efforts. So your observation is correct. This is a high growth area. So we're going to need to figure out where all of our services are going to be located out here. So we don't have that exact location determined yet, but it is part of those discussions.
Councilmember Jurinsky.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question. It's also got you for Jason. So where will we put the Broncos Stadium?
I think, probably up somewhere off 64th. We've really spent a lot of effort trying to make 64th an entertainment and destination district. So with the Gaylord, with the Painted Prairie Town Center, I think that's going to be a great location for that asset.
Good. Well, they're going to be needing a new home in order to host the Super Bowl in the future, and I think that Aurora would be a great home.
All right, sir.
And we'll definitely need police and fire in that area as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I mean, this just looks incredible. All of these developments, of course, Dustin and I are behind all of this, and we cannot wait to see, all of this built up. So thank you so much for this presentation.
Sure.
Okay, item 3D, Aurora Economic Development Strategy.
Good morning. Kathy, can I share a screen? Good morning, council members and visitors. I'm Danielle Krasinowski with the city's Long Range Planning Division. Got a moment to pull up. Okay. Can you all see the slideshow here?
I can see it. Councilmember Zvonek, can you see this one? Do you want to log out and log back in? Maybe you're on here as not a panelist.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, we'll give you a minute. Becky Hogan, can you see this one?
No, I cannot. All I see is viewing Mindy Parnes' application.
Interesting. Okay. And you already tried to log out and log back in, right?
I did. I can do it again.
I can see it.
I'll try again. I'll log back out and log back in. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
I can see it as well. So
what we'll do, since we can't fix this on the fly, we will coordinate with IT and let them know about the problems we're having, just in case it is somehow related to the new security features we have.
Okay,
And I can see
Councilman
it.
Zvonek, can you,
Background, and I can see it. Yep.
you can see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we'll wait just another couple seconds for Becky Hogan.
Yeah, I can see it as well. And so,
Becky, can you see it?
Yes, I can. Thank
Oh,
you.
wonderful. Okay, all right.
all
We'll
right.
go ahead and start. Thank you.
Great. We will push forward. Thank you for your time this morning. This presentation is really outlines a proposal to develop an economic development strategy for Aurora. Economic development really kind of at its core is the attraction and retention and growth of jobs and investment in a community. Obviously, Aurora does economic development. We've had a number of successes, whether it's development in the Aerotropolis area. I think a couple of meetings ago, there was a great presentation on investment in Anschutz and the biosciences there. And so Aurora is a thriving economy. We've had a lot of successes attracting and growing development and jobs in the city. But what this strategic planning approach really allows Aurora and its partners and stakeholders throughout the community an opportunity to really look carefully at our local economy, to look at those opportunities that Aurora has in the coming years in a really comprehensive and collaborative way, really building on the work that's been done by the city and its many partners. The intent is not at all to start from scratch. It's really to take our economic development efforts from very good to great, and really strengthen those connections and the coordination among the city and its many stakeholders. The development of a strategy like this was actually part of Aurora Place's comprehensive plan that specifically looked at economic development as a priority for the community and recommended this sort of deep dive into the topic. What you see on the screen is just a handful of the sort of the desired outcomes, really the focus of an economic development strategy. First and foremost is really to strengthen and diversify the economy, to grow the number of jobs and incomes in the city. I think especially the focus of this strategic planning effort is to look at those very practical tools, those policies, practices, different resources that are available to the city and its partners to realize this growth and investment in the city. There'll, I think, both be an emphasis on attracting new employers and new investment from outside of Aurora to choose Aurora, to open businesses, to invest in property, to grow jobs. But there's also an emphasis on continuing to cultivate those businesses that are here, to grow those small businesses, to ensure that they're successful in growing, and continue to choose Aurora as their home. The 3 steps for this strategic planning process starts with really a review of the current economic conditions. We are working on pulling data about jobs, growth, investment, but also those impacts on the city, the city's the budget, revenues, and so forth. And so we're developing this economic existing conditions study. We'll also be looking at the resources and organization that really kind of make up the economic development environment in Aurora, whether that's within the city or within its partners. And we'll also be looking at best practices, some of those successful approaches to growth and development and those that are responsive to some of the current trends. Really, the heart of the process is really engaging our stakeholders, and I'll show a list of those many stakeholders, but we'll approach these different stakeholders through a variety of methods, whether it's interviews, focus groups, public meetings, different types of forums, and that'll really kind of make the heart of the process. And then that information, that direction that we get, will really kind of shape those strategic goals and recommendations that we're able to bring forward. Now, I do want to say, we'll hear from the community, we'll develop some strategic goals and recommendations. But we also want to vet those back to the community and to our stakeholders to make sure that everybody's on the same page and supportive of this approach. Coordination and collaboration is really a key to this, and so we'll sort of cycle through those two and come up with the very best set of goals and recommendations. What you see on the screen in front of you is a list of some of the many stakeholders that'll be involved in this. We're really looking at stakeholders sort of in three groups that'll play different roles and be engaged in different ways. The first are those primary partners, those organizations that, along with the city, whose functions are really directly related to economic development. Groups like Aurora EDC, the Chamber, Visit Aurora, the SBDC, and a few others. And we really envision these groups as kind of the core partners, but also will be invited to participate as members sort of a steering committee for the strategic planning process. What you see in the other two boxes are some additional stakeholders. These are organizations that can provide data input, or their missions are really supported by a good, strong, and growing economy. Obviously, the school districts will be involved. Some of our major employers, both on Anschutz, some of our industrial and retailers, and others in the community will be very involved in this. But we want to also look at some of the opportunities and resources that the state may provide, or some of our regional resources as well. Of course, reaching out to the general public, whether that's residents, whether that's the business and the development communities, we'll reach out to all of these folks through a variety of methods to get their feedback about what the priorities and direction we need to be reflecting in the strategy. The project will be led by city staff, but we do envision bringing on a consultant to help support the process. Really, the role of that consultant played really kind of two roles. The first is to provide some subject matter expertise on economic development. If we're looking at current practices and cutting edge ideas and resources, a consultant can definitely contribute to that. But we also feel like a consultant could help facilitate the stakeholder engagement sessions, bringing together all those partners and others in the community to talk about these topics. We'll bring forward a budget request to council for this consultant if this is something that the city wants to pursue, and we'll bring forward more detail on that. So that really kind of concludes my presentation. The question from staff or the committee, is this proposal something we want to bring forward for full council consideration at an upcoming study session? And I'm happy to field any questions at this point.
Thank you. Councilmember Zvonek.
No, I'm fine with moving it forward. I don't have any questions. I guess just one comment will be I'm happy that we're doing this. I think one of the critical first steps that we need to think through is, what is that North Star? What is that infinite goal or vision that we have for economic development? And it should be, I think, broad and infinite, something that we're always striving towards, that no matter how much success we have, there's always work to be done. like being a leader in economic development, job growth for the state, right? That it can be short and simple like that. And then developing those core strategies around it. Because I do think that having that first is important, because all the other discussions from there, from core strategies to the tactics, flow from that. And so I don't know if that's something you do prior or something you engage stakeholders on, but I think setting that North Star early is going to be critical to the success of this overall effort.
Great, thank you for that comment. And that is definitely something that can come from the city, from city leadership, but also those partners can definitely weigh in on that that sort of overall target from which everything else sort of flows. So thanks for comment.
I also support moving this forward, and thank you so much for the presentation, Danielle.
Great, thank you all.
Okay, item 3E, a resolution in support of enhanced design guidelines for chase drains.
Thank you. And I'm the sponsor for this one as well. I don't, for the newer council members, I don't know if you've heard, but there have been a lot of issues with drainage in Southeast Aurora over the last 3 years. Really started in 2019 with a neighborhood meeting. And it's been a long discussion, and staff from Public Works and from Water have tried to meet with the public and come up with some solutions. So some of those are in progress. And this is just a resolution that we would bring forward for the roadway manual and changes to chase drains for new development. Is Victor on this call?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm here.
I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Kathy, can I have the ability to share? Thank you. Hopefully that's coming up for everybody. So what I'll do is I'll walk everybody through the resolution real quickly. As Mayor Pro Tem said, we have been working with the public, particularly in Southeast Aurora, regarding drainage and some concerns. So working through the resolution here, acknowledging the roadway manual that's currently in effect is from 2016, and that we are revising it in the process of that now, including engagement with the development community, and anticipate revisions in the updated manual to be live and published, hopefully fall/early winter of this year. Walking through some of the whereas clauses here inside the resolution, we do have an update to the chase drain detail in the new manual to allow some flexibility, so that if a homeowner wanted to install it, it would be more affordable and flexible to meet the needs of the specific situation. In addition, we are looking at changing the requirement for when a chase drain is needed to be put in at the time of development, reducing that from 3 units flowing towards the sidewalk to 2, as well as if sump pumps are discharging to the side of a home into a ditch or a swale and that's draining to the road, if there are 2 sump pumps pumping water into that swale, that a chase drain would be installed. We're also acknowledging Aurora Water's WaterWise program. Aurora Water, in their water conservation efforts, have stood up a WaterWise program that includes eliminating grass in the grass strip or curbside landscaping and replacing it with WaterWise landscaping. Could be rock mulch, could be native grasses. Those also help with some of the drainage concerns we've heard from the community. So we've included that acknowledgement within this resolution. Next up, we also are looking at a 12-month look back where we're trying to acknowledge and work with the development community and the builders in particular, where if a homeowner, after moving in the home, 12 months, within a 12-month period of closing, comes to the city and says, hey, I've got a drainage issue here. We'd like for you to look at it. The city goes out, investigates the cause, potential issues and resolution, and determines that a resolution fix would be a chase drain. then we would then work with the builder to have that chase drain installed to address the drainage concerns. And then just a general overall statement that the city here is certainly in support of the community and looking for ways to protect and provide safe sidewalks, at the same time addressing drainage needs within the community and conveyance of that stormwater. With that, the question for the committee today here at PED is, are you in favor of moving this forward to study session? And then I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilmember Zvonek.
No questions. Good with moving it forward.
Same, no questions, and we can move it forward.
I just want to make one comment, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, Victor, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to talk to our legal in terms of making sure that if somebody regrades their yard, then they would not qualify, correct?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That's correct. We are currently working with legal in that aspect. At the time a home is built, there is an approved grading plan. And so we're trying to make sure that that aspect is also covered so that we're not penalizing, say, a builder if a homeowner made some changes that were potentially not approved or have an effect on the issue at hand.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. It looks like AEDC does want to give an update today, and welcome back, Yuri. Congratulations on your baby, and we've missed you. So what do you got for us?
Appreciate it. Chair, committee members, other council members, good morning. Thanks for having me. There's so much going on and I'm definitely catching up. So I actually made some notes instead of just winging this as I usually do. First, I want to just echo my support for the Economic Development Strategy initiative. That's really, really critical, and so glad to be working with staff and all of the other partners and stakeholders on that effort to really hone in on all of our potential. As Mindy alluded to, I'll add to that too. It was great to see that presentation and update. We went from, just for some perspective, not too long ago, 3 business parks, right? It was Gateway at Pinion I-70. It was Majestic, phase 1, and then Prologis at E470 and I-70. So from 3 business parks to now over 24 that are actively pursuing projects and users and building and planning. And there's a couple more lined up that we're talking to. And I think that's just a testament to just general economic growth, obviously, over the last, call it 15 years, and including obviously the assets of Fitzsimmons and Buckley and some of those other target industries that we've been going after and marketing towards and promoting Aurora on a national scale, global scale sometimes, to really get people here and get companies here. And we see that with, you know, some headquarter deals like Karcher that I mentioned before, and I'll go through the list, but we're really excited to have that much portfolio, and it just gives us the ability to market ourselves as a competitive city of business and home to a lot of good industries. So getting to a quick update, we have 8 projects, 8 deals done this year so far. Advanced manufacturers are coming in strong. I think we've heard about that throughout the pandemic, that some supply chain issues and other issues have kind of gotten manufacturers thinking of how to do things domestically. So 5G poles, smart pallets, if you believe it or not, embedded with some technology. Coffee roasting and canning and those kind of users are coming in and setting up shop. Some of those are headquarters, some of those aren't, and just regional operations, but all good projects. Our pipeline is really strong too. We usually have, 8 to a dozen deals, cooking at any time. We have 14 right now that we are working on actively, day in, day out, every week. We're talking to 14 different companies that are considering coming to Aurora. And then in terms of investment, those deals that I mentioned are going to bring more than $2 billion of capital investment into the city, into the community, and create tens and tens of millions of dollars of tax revenue to the city, and that's not even counting the counties and the schools and all of that. So a lot of new tax revenue from those projects. There's one data center in there that's a pretty large component of it, but some good capital investment. And I wanted to hit on capital investment and venture capital and just the looming, downturn that people are talking about. We had a board meeting yesterday where an economist from CU said, yeah, there's some major headwinds coming at us, and inflation is what it is, and we have to be careful. But I think there's a silver lining for us in our community, that there are companies and industries that haven't been as on the forefront of in terms of velocity of the fintech and the mortgage industry and all of those kind of guys that have been hiring more and more people. And so now they're starting to lay off a few people. We aren't seeing that at all. And we're not a work from home city either. We have people in offices and on the manufacturing floor and on distribution floors working and in trucks and all of that. So we think that companies are going to dig into their cash reserves and pull out cash because it's not doing what it used to do, just sitting there with inflation what it is and interest rates what they are, and they're going to put it to use, and they're going to invest it, and they're going to come in and build some more things. And especially since we have the available portfolio of land and developments, I think we'll see a good clip of that, even if things get worse over the next year to 2 to 3 years. And then wanted to mention that we're talking to developers from California and from Minneapolis, from Minnesota, and some Midwestern states as well. They're Midwestern states as well. And that's an interesting trend because, we think of the coasts, California, New York, maybe some folks out of Texas coming to Colorado and building here. And we're seeing some Midwestern folks talking about it just because it's a different market. And yeah, we're more expensive than a lot of the Midwest. And we don't really talk about that. But sometimes companies want to enter more expensive markets to grow their share and hire people that are skilled and that enjoy living in Colorado. And so I think we're seeing some of those companies come here and some developers like that come here. Quick note of lease rates. Industrial lease rates are popping and going and continue to climb. The last year saw a really huge increase, just as multifamily rents and all of those that we see in the news more often. Industrial lease rates have climbed as well. And office rates have held pretty steady. So that's an interesting indicator for us. We've definitely had some negative absorption in our market. We have a smaller office market than the tech center, than downtown, of course. Our vacancy rates aren't as high because downtown, as some of us have read in the news, is at 50% occupancy these days. The tech center probably also closer to that, maybe 70%. Aurora's office market is a little different, and so we still have a lot of people and a lot of companies leasing and subleasing and moving around. And so office rates, lease rates have held at least until now. So that's an interesting indicator. And then lastly, wanted to mention that we're sponsoring an event at the Gaylord next week about data centers. So there's a conference that will bring some regional folks in, some national folks from Virginia and Atlanta and those kind of bigger data center markets to Aurora, and we'll get to talk about our incentive attraction program and all of the capabilities that we have for data centers coming in. So we're excited to sponsor that event. It'll probably be 200 or 300 people at the Gaylord next Wednesday morning. So we'll report back of how that goes. That's all I got. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Yuri, thank you. Council members, do you have anything? All right.
Hey, Yuri, yeah, I do. I have one question if I could. Hey, Yuri, you mentioned some of the recruitment efforts out of the Midwest, which I think is actually really smart. Because your point about the higher cost of living here is right, but also I would imagine there's companies that need, more educated, pool to go after, a more educated population to go after. And Colorado is obviously one of the more educated states in the country. Are those the types, or have you guys looked specifically at those types of country or companies that need a more educated workforce and as potential prospects for Colorado? Because while cost of living is high, taxes are relatively low for businesses here, and then of course we have, like I said, one of the higher educated populations in the country.
Yeah, you said it really well, council member. Yeah, that's exactly the line of thinking. Even though costs might be a little higher for the labor, yeah, that tax environment is pretty good. And the skills are, you have to pay for the skills, and people realize that a lot of educated people either are here or have been moving here over the last decade or two. And as we brought up yesterday at a board meeting, that our education attainment levels in Aurora specifically have climbed with, folks with bachelor degrees. And so that's definitely, something we talk about too. More, aerospace related companies, right? The satellite folks, and software developers, and the advanced manufacturing folks that are tinkering around, and even, from environments like Michigan State, right? They have a great automotive sort of focus, and there's a lot of technology coming out of those regions, and they don't necessarily want to stay around Detroit in that industry. And we talked to Rivian last year. If you all are familiar with Rivian, the electric vehicle truck manufacturer, they're just starting to release some of their trucks on the road. If you've seen them, they're really cool. I want one, but I'm not a truck guy though. So, but they looked at Colorado because they thought that they could make it work. Supply chain wasn't quite here, right? We don't have quite the blue collar sort of labor pool that they were looking for, but they were looking here because of the engineering concentration that we have, and we have a lot of engineers in Ward 6. So that's a really high concentration for us that we always tout, and we're really proud of that.
All right, thank you so much, Yuri. It looks like the Havana bid is up next.
Councilmember Jurinsky, I'm not sure. Chance, are you on the? I don't ever see her.
She's not.
During her update, I don't know that she was going to actually report.
Oh, okay. Okay. So then with that, the only other report is not a verbal report, but oil and gas submitted their second quarter written report in the agenda packet. No one else has a report. The next meeting is tentatively scheduled for September 14th at 8:30 a.m. I do know I'm set to fly out to Houston that day for a homeless conference. So we might just have to take a look at that, but staff, I will be in touch with you on that. And then with that, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Anyone's on Chrome add-in might have been playing a factor for some, and then some might still have issues that we'll submit a ticket to IT and just make them aware that people were not able to see the presentation. Like Becky said, she logged in and she would have to log in and log back out, and for each presentation, which is odd.
Yeah, well, let's put it, that's a good idea, Kathy. Let's go ahead and put in a ticket, and maybe we can figure out a way to kind of just let